The love and hip-hop story has reached an unexpected climax. In an extraordinary turn of events, Kirk Frost has been bayoneted from the program following an intense and jaw-dropping encounter with a fan that has stunned the whole reality TV industry. What began as a routine meet and greet devolved into turmoil when Kirk Frost, who is usually the focus of family drama, found himself in the middle of a public meltdown. Fans were stunned when Kirk Frost's heated debate with a die-hard fan evolved into a full-fledged battle, with accusations flying, emotions running high, and cameras rolling. However, this is not simply about a fan getting under Kirk Frost's skin. The battle revealed a darker side of Kirk Frost that no one expected. As murmurs circulated and the media frenzy grew, everyone was wondering, could this be the end of Kirk Frost's love and hip-hop career? His explosive activities forced the network to take severe steps. What caused this stunning moment? What does this mean for his role on the program, his family, and his image? Stay tuned as we reveal the startling details of this historic scandal. It was meant to be a typical advertising event. Kirk Frost, the adored yet controversial personality from Love and Hip Hop, was supposed to appear in public at an Atlanta event. Fans were anxious to meet him, snap photos, and perhaps catch a peek of the guy behind the on-screen turmoil. Kirk Frost had always been notorious for causing havoc on the show, from his famed infidelity accusations to his problematic relationship with Rashida. However, on this particular day, no one could have guessed that the drama would take place off-screen, in front of a live audience. As Kirk Frost entered the stadium, people were already vibrating with anticipation. It wasn't simply another appearance. It was love and hip-hop history happening right in front of their eyes. However, what began as a friendly introduction rapidly devolved into a heated conflict. After hours of waiting, a fan was finally able to get up close to Kirk Frost. This admirer was not there only to acquire a signature. No, this fan had a bone to pick with Kirk Frost. The chat started pleasantly enough, but the fan was persistent. They began grilling Kirk Frost about the veracity of his love and hip-hop plot. Kirk Frost, is it true that you are faking everything for the cameras? The fan inquired. Kirk Frost, who had faced abuse from fans and the media for years, tried to shrug it off. But the question seemed to strike a chord. What are you talking about? I don't pretend anything. This is my real life, Kirk Frost said, his tone altering. Fans around them began to sense the tension rising. They spoke and exchanged glances as Kirk Frost's smile faded. Kirk Frost was known for his cool demeanor under pressure, but today was different. It wasn't just any fan asking questions. This fan had been watching Kirk Frost every move and analyzing his every word, and now they had a platform to confront him face to face. The fan wasn't finished. They continued to press Kirk Frost, asking increasingly probing questions about his marriage to Rashida, his children, and the ongoing turmoil that seemed to follow him wherever he went. You have been caught cheating on video, Kirk Frost. Why should we believe you? Why should we trust any of this is true? The fan's voice became louder, attracting more attention from the audience. Kirk Frost's eyes widened as his jaw tightened. This wasn't just a fan searching for answers. This was an attack on his character, and he was not going to let it go. I've had enough of this. Kirk Frost mumbled behind his breath. His remarks were hardly audible, but the wrath in his voice was obvious. At this moment, security was attentively monitoring the exchange and prepared to interfere if necessary. However, Kirk Frost refused to back down. He was tired of the continual bombardment of inquiries, insinuations, and public derision he had faced for years. Kirk Frost turned to face the fan, his stance tight and his eyes flaming with rage. Do you think you know everything about my life? Do you believe you have the right to come at me like this in public? Kirk Frost yelled. You've no idea what it's like to live under this microscope. The audience went quiet. Some fans seemed shocked, while others exchanged anxious glances. Kirk Frost had always been a dramatic character, but this was different. His speech was raw and intense, which was disturbing. However, the fan did not back down. You are a phony, Kirk Frost. Everyone is aware of this. You're just here for the fame, and we all see right through it," the fan said. The audience began whispering, some agreeing with the fan and others backing Kirk Frost. However, at that point, the environment became hostile. What was intended to be a joyful fan interaction has now gotten out of hand. Kirk Frost's cheeks reddened with rage. He took a stride toward the fan, fists clenched. Security got in quickly, but it was too late. Kirk Frost shoved the fan in frustration, throwing them off balance. The fan lurched backwards, their eyes wide with surprise. Kirk Frost's emotions had reached boiling point, and everything altered in that moment. The audience gasped. Some spectators cheered, while others shouted for Kirk Frost to stop. In a matter of seconds, the scene had transformed from a casual gathering to a full-fledged show. Security swiftly intervened to separate the two, but the damage had been done. Kirk Frost had lost his cool, and the entire incident was captured on video. The clip went viral on social media, with both fans and media outlets commenting on the heated confrontation. People could not believe what they had just seen. Kirk Frost, the reality TV personality known for his dramatic life, has just turned a fan contact into a major issue. As the dust settled, Kirk Frost strode out, leaving the scene in a huff. The fan, apparently terrified, was led out by security. The audience was startled into silence, uncertain what had happened. For the fans who had gone to see Kirk Frost, this was a startling change of events. It was a nightmare for the creators of love and hip-hop. Kirk Frost had just crossed a boundary, and the network now faced a problem. How could they continue to let someone with such an explosive temper to represent their brand? The ramifications from the tragedy began almost immediately. Within hours, reports spread that Kirk Frost had been blacklisted from future love and hip-hop events. The producers, who had already been upset by Kirk Frost's actions in recent months, were reportedly enraged. They had worked carefully to create the ideal narrative for Kirk Frost's plot on the program, but this tragedy threatened to derail everything. Later that evening, Kirk Frost's publicist issued a statement expressing apologies for the incident, but also implying that Kirk Frost was angered by the fans' incessant questions. Kirk Frost is a human being, and like everyone, he has limitations. While we do not condone violence, this fan's disrespect pushed Kirk Frost to the breaking point, the statement said. However, this remark did nothing to quiet the gathering fury. Fans turned to social media to express their thoughts. Some agreed with Kirk Frost, recognizing that the continual scrutiny must have taken its toll on him. Others were appalled by his conduct and demanded that he be removed off the program permanently. As the tale progressed, love and hip-hop lovers were split. Some people backed Kirk Frost, claiming that he was provoked and that the fan had passed a boundary. Others, however, believed that Kirk Frost's actions were unacceptable and that he had lost the plot. The discussion carried on, with no clear outcome in sight. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, love and hip-hop producers were trying to figure out what to do next. Kirk Frost has been a key player on the program for years, but this last event may have been the last straw. The network's higher-ups were claimed to be debating whether Kirk Frost's actions had gone too far. Could they really keep him on the show despite the public outcry? Or was it time to break connections with Kirk Frost for good? The drama, as usual, continued to develop. But one thing was certain, Kirk Frost's career on Love and Hip Hop was in severe risk. As the crisis progressed, viewers anxiously anticipated the next installment in this stunning drama. What will happen next? Will Kirk Frost suffer the repercussions of his actions, or will he find a way to save his job and reputation? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain, the story of Kirk Frost was far from done. As the repercussions from Kirk Frost's violent fan altercation dominated social media, the reality television industry remained on edge. The fan encounter triggered a cascade of events that no one, even Kirk Frost, could have predicted. What appeared to be a brief mistake in judgment for Kirk Frost had escalated into a full-fledged crisis, threatening to alter the course of his career on Love and Hip Hop. As additional information about the incident became available, the public's reaction was mixed. But the implications for Kirk Frost appeared to be growing by the hour. Within hours of the confrontation, Love and hip-hop lovers went to social media, with some justifying Kirk Frost's conduct and others strongly demanding his removal from the program. Kirk Frost has always been a fan favorite, but this was just too much. One fan tweeted, "There's a limit to what can be forgiven," and he crossed it. Meanwhile, some sympathized with Kirk Frost, claiming that the fans' rude words had pushed him too far. "If I were Kirk Frost, I'd have snapped too," one person said. Fans forget these stars are human beings too. However, the outrage was not restricted to social media. Even other cast members chimed in on the incident, adding fuel to the flames. While some, such as Rashida, Kirk Frost's wife, remained silent for the time being, others spoke out against Kirk Frost's actions. Yandy Smith-Harris, a fellow Love and hip-hop artist who had observed Kirk Frost's rage in the past, provided her thoughts on the scenario. "Kirk Frost needs to take accountability for his actions," Yandy stated in an interview. "We all have our breaking points, but violence is never the answer." Her words were a clear indication that Kirk Frost's image was in significant risk, and it wasn't only the viewers who questioned his presence on the program. Meanwhile, Kirk Frost's publicist was working overtime to manage the story and keep the matter from escalating further. A second statement was issued, this one addressing the rising outrage. Kirk Frost admits that his acts were out of character, but he has also stated that he was pushed to the brink. He regrets what happened and is dedicated to improving himself in the future. The remark was intended to soften the public's impression, but it did nothing to halt the growing flood of criticism. Behind the scenes, the producers of Love and Hip Hop were hurrying to decide on Kirk Frost's future on the program. The network had committed a significant amount of time and money on Kirk Frost's narrative, but the altercation had placed them in an extremely uncomfortable position. On the one hand, Kirk Frost was one of the show's most well-known stars, with a drama-filled personal life that drove audiences year after year. On the other hand, the network had to think about the message it was giving to its viewers. Could they honestly keep promoting someone who was engaged in such a public and violent incident? According to insiders close to the production, there were intense discussions behind closed doors between producers and executives over whether Kirk Frost should be suspended or possibly permanently removed from the program. Some thought his actions were simply too risky, while others believe he might be forgiven with the correct apologies and a chance to make good. "This is a business decision, not a personal one," one source stated. "If Kirk Frost is banned, it may have an impact on ratings, but if he remains, we risk alienating viewers who are disgusted by his actions." As the stress increased, Kirk Frost struggled to grasp the tornado of events. The guy who had been at the center of so many Love and hip-hop disputes was now dealing with the most serious controversy of his career. It was no longer only about getting caught cheating or having heated disputes on TV. Kirk Frost had physically approached a fan, which was not an easy boundary to cross without consequences. In the days after the event, Kirk Frost remained out of the public glare, delivering brief remarks through his team but refusing to speak with the media. He was apparently saddened by the response and appeared genuinely sorry for his conduct. However, the question remained, was it too little, too late? Rashida, who had always remained behind Kirk Frost through thick and thin, was now presented with a tough decision. As Kirk Frost's wife and mother of his children, she had always been the voice of reason in their volatile relationship. But this time, something seemed different. Kirk Frost had always walked the delicate line between being a beloved bad boy and engaging in really inappropriate conduct. But this episode seemed like a breaking point. Was this the last straw for her? The pair had been through their fair share of drama, from Kirk Frost's adultery to the ups and downs of their marriage. But this was a new level of contention. In private, Rashida was believed to be torn. Sources close to the couple said that Kirk Frost's actions greatly affected her. While she had always defended him, she struggled to find the perfect words to explain to their children why their father had acted in this manner. "It's hard," Rashida allegedly told a close friend. "We've gone through a lot together, but this feels different. He let his fury to take over, and it's no longer just about us." It's about his profession, reputation, and the example he sets for our children. The family was divided. Kirk Frost's actions sparked a blaze of discussion not just in the love and hip-hop communities, but also among his closest relatives and friends. Some asked Kirk to walk away from the limelight and accept responsibility for his behavior, while others felt the program had pushed him too far. Scrappy, his cousin and another Love and Hip Hop cast member, expressed his concerns in an emotional post. "Kirk, my family, but man, we all got limits," Scrappy remarked. "I understand what it's like to be under pressure, but this is not the way." As Kirk dealt with the aftermath, the Love and Hip Hop producers made an important decision. In a statement sent to the public, they stated that Kirk will be suspended indefinitely pending an investigation into the event. The network did not specify if this meant a permanent suspension, but the fact that Kirk was shelved was a strong signal that his career on the program was in threat. Kirk's suspension signaled the start of what seemed to be a stormy and unpredictable future. With Kirk in limbo, everyone's concern remained. Would Kirk Frost be able to recover from this incident, or had he crossed a line from which he couldn't return? The drama was far from done, and Kirk's career hung in the balance. Nothing was definite in the realm of love and hip-hop, and fans were anxious to find out what would happen next. Would Kirk return to love and hip-hop after a period of contemplation and repentance, or was this the end of his tenure on the show? As Kirk Frost's suspension from love and hip-hop continued to dominate headlines, everyone wondered if he'd be able to redeem himself. Behind the scenes, the stress was reaching an almost intolerable level, with murmurs of prospective exits, behind-the-scenes conflict, and the likelihood that Kirk's career was done for forever. Kirk had always been renowned for his fiery temper and tendency to create drama, but this time the stakes were higher than ever before. The fan incident had passed a limit that could not be readily overlooked. Kirk was no longer merely a divisive figure. He was a liability, and his future in love and hip-hop was uncertain. As the days passed, the issue grew increasingly difficult. Kirk's crew was working hard to rebuild his image, looking into every conceivable way to restore his public standing. Meetings were held with public relations professionals, crisis management specialists, and even legal consultants. Kirk's publicist, who had previously supported him through countless controversies, was now on a mission to ensure that the narrative did not fully swing against him. They produced a succession of remarks, each more regretful than the previous, but they received varied replies. "We recognize that Kirk's behavior was unacceptable, and he deeply regrets his actions," stated the most recent statement. "He is determined to make apologies and learn from this situation." Kirk is reflecting on his conduct and his future, but even with these well-prepared apologies, the harm was already done. The supporters, particularly those who had been faithful to Kirk for years, were now wondering if they could continue to support him. Some felt deceived, while others were disappointed by Kirk's lack of self-control. "I can't believe he would do something like that," one admirer wrote. "I've been following Kirk for years, and this is simply too much." The media coverage was unrelenting, with tabloids, blogs, and mainstream agencies reporting on every aspect of the tragedy. Some tales were sympathetic, presenting Kirk as a guy who broke under strain, while others described him as a violent, unpredictable character who couldn't manage his rage. "Kirk Frost's career is in ruins," stated one headline. Is this the end of his love and hip-hop run? It wasn't just about the fan incident anymore. The media had seized on the larger story of Kirk's difficult history, bringing up prior scandals, conflicts, and legal concerns. It seemed as if Kirk's previous actions were being utilized to criticize him in the present. The strain was rising, and Kirk's future appeared to be sliding farther and more out of his grasp. Meanwhile, the cast members at the Love and Hip Hop camp were divided on how to deal with the situation. Some sympathized with Kirk, recognizing the demands of living in the spotlight and the toll it may take on a person's mental health. "Kirk's my boy, and I know he's going through it right now," Scrappy remarked in an interview. "I have watched him suffer, and I know he regrets what occurred. But at the end of the day, it's about what happens next. He's got to accept responsibility and set things right." Others, however, weren't as charitable. Yandy, who had always advocated for retaining professionalism and respect, made it obvious that she could not support Kirk's behavior. What Kirk did was unacceptable, Yandy said. We must all be accountable for our acts, particularly when we are in the public spotlight. It's no longer just about us. It's about the message we're giving to our followers. Behind closed doors, Rashida was straining to support her husband while still dealing with the very real ramifications of his behavior. She had always been Kirk's rock, but now things seemed different. The fan interaction had highlighted flaws in their relationship, and while she tried to be supportive, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the turning point. She'd gone through a lot with Kirk: infidelity, betrayal, and numerous ups and downs. But this was a whole new level of pain. She was concerned not just about Kirk's job, but also about how this might affect their family and children. Rashana conveyed her dissatisfaction and grief in private chats with close pals. I don't know what to do anymore, she said. I adore Kirk, but how many times can I forgive him for something like this? It feels like he's always making excuses for his conduct, and I'm the one who has to pick up the pieces. Friends were quick to give their advice, with some asking Rashida to stick by Kirk's side, while others advised her to take a step back and examine the situation. The counsel was inconsistent, and Rashida felt more alone than ever. I just want him to take responsibility and change, she said me. But I'm starting to wonder if he can. As the days passed, Kirk's ban from Love and Hip Hop appeared to be indefinite. The network had stated that they were taking the problem seriously, but it was unclear when or if Kirk would be permitted to return. The producers had their hands bound. On the one hand, they had the viewers, who demanded responsibility, and on the other, they had Kirk's long-standing presence on the show, which had been critical to its success. Will they risk losing a fan favorite? Or would they determine that his behavior was too much to ignore? The decision was not simple, and it appeared that no matter which way they took, someone would be angry. Meanwhile, Kirk was attempting to focus on personal development. According to accounts, he sought treatment to address his anger issues and work through the underlying causes of the conflict. This is a wake-up call for Kirk, a family insider stated. He's taking it seriously, and he knows he needs to change. He's finally willing to confront his demons. Whether this newfound dedication to personal growth would be enough to recover his ruined reputation remained to be seen. As Kirk worked through his personal troubles, fans and cast members speculated about his future. Will he return to Love and Hip Hop as a redeemed man, eager to make apologies and prove himself? Is this the final chapter in his story? The drama was far from ended, and doubts concerning Kirk's future remained open. The only certainty was that the controversy had permanently altered the course of his career. Kirk now had to determine if he could make a return or be left behind as a result of his own blunders. The public's reaction to Kirk Frost's suspension from Love and Hip Hop grew even more fierce in the days following his incident with a fan. The internet had burst with conflicting emotions, with some defending Kirk and others asking for his permanent removal from the program. He's always been a hothead, but this is too much, wrote one admirer on Twitter. He needs to take responsibility and stop using anger as an excuse. He's too old for this. Others were more compassionate. Kirk's been through a lot, another admirer said. He's human. We all make mistakes, and he deserves another chance. The continuous argument dominated social media, and it appeared that no matter where you stood, the drama surrounding Kirk's exile was unavoidable. Kirk found the pressure intolerable. Every time he checked his phone, there were new headlines waiting for him. New charges, further footage from the fan encounter, and more pieces deconstructing his previous actions. He could feel his job slipping away, and with it, his self-esteem. I've always been the one to keep things real, but this feels like a nightmare, Kirk remarked in an emotional interview. I screwed up, and now I have to deal with the repercussions. I never meant to hurt anybody, and I never expected things to reach this far, but now it's greater than me. His remarks were genuine, but for many, the harm had already been done. His words, actions, and history of outbursts portrayed him as someone who couldn't manage his temper. For some, This was simply inexcusable. Kirk's publicists continued to spin damage control, and attempts to rehabilitate his reputation were viewed with mistrust. Behind the scenes, the pressure to improve things was intense. The network has already begun to look for a prospective replacement for Kirk. Producers were in private negotiations about bringing in fresh names to fill the vacuum Kirk had left. There was discussion of fresh, someone who might add a new dynamic to the program, as well as a new wave of drama. Love and Hip Hop had been popular for so long due to its unexpected raw character, but with Kirk gone, could the program have the same energy? The franchise's future appeared dubious. Could they move on from one of its most divisive players, or would Kirk's absence leave a gap too large to fill? Meanwhile, Kirk's family was still dealing with the effects of the battle. Rashana had been a consistent presence in the media, speaking out in support of her husband, but it was evident that she was struggling. Her social media messages were full of conflicting feelings, with some expressing her support for Kirk and others hinting at her growing anger. "We've been through so much together," Rashida said in a single post, "but some things can't be overlooked." Her admirers instantly began to speculate. Was she starting to distrust Kirk? Or was this simply a mirror of her emotional roller coaster ride? Many people wondered if Rashida really loyal to Kirk, or if she was simply attempting to keep her family together among the tumult. Rashida conveyed her conflicted feelings in a private chat. "It's difficult. I adore Kirk, but I also have to consider what's best for me and the kids. We had a lot of ups and downs, but this one seems different because it's broader than just us. It's harming our family, our professions, and our reputation. I don't know how much more of this I can take." It was evident that Rashida's thoughts were weighing hard on her, and while she hadn't yet made any extreme decisions, the fissures in their marriage were becoming more visible. The public scrutiny, regular media attention, and emotional toll of defending Kirk had worn her out. She had always been the strong one, but it was now up to Kirk to find the strength to change. Kirk's actions generated a larger discussion about toxic masculinity, anger management, and accountability in celebrity society. Experts weighed in, assessing the incident's long-term implications on Kirk's career, as well as the message it carried to the general public. "We live in a time where celebrities are held to a higher standard," remarked a well-known psychotherapist. "Their acts are not simply personal. They have repercussions." For Kirk, this is more than just a terrible moment. It's a reflection of deeper issues that need to be addressed. The question is whether Kirk is prepared to make that change, and whether the public is willing to forgive him for his previous conduct. As Kirk resumed his therapy sessions, stories surfaced that he was becoming more reflective. "It's not just about returning to love and hip-hop," he explained in an interview. "It's about figuring out who I am and what I want from life. I can't keep blaming others for my faults. I need to take responsibility and mend what's broken within me." While these statements were encouraging, they also prompted further questions. Could Kirk actually change, or was this all part of his damage control strategy? Fans were divided, with some supporting his dedication to self-improvement and others accusing him of simply attempting to save his career. "He's always been good at saying the right things," one admirer said. "Will he truly follow through?" As Kirk's redemption story unfolded in the public, his future on Love and Hip Hop remained uncertain. The network had not made an official statement regarding his comeback, but whispers were circulating. Some reports stated that Kirk would return to the program in a limited role, while others reported that his time on the show was done for forever. Love and Hip Hop producers, known for their love of drama and conflict, have a history of welcoming problematic artists, but Kirk's circumstance was unique. He wasn't simply another reality show villain. He was a parent, husband, and public personality who had crossed a boundary. May the network risk bringing him back knowing that his actions may lead to another major scandal? On the other hand, Kirk's exile had left a power vacuum in the show's dynamic. The remaining cast members were ready to fill the vacancy. Drama was already brewing between the surviving performers, with each pushing for more screen time and attention. This just added to the air of uncertainty about Kirk's future on the program. Who will be the new breakthrough star? Could anybody fill the void Kirk had left, Or would his absence fundamentally alter the show? The producers were attempting to strike a careful balance between keeping things exciting and dealing with the consequences of Kirk's explosive behavior. As Kirk spent more time away from the spotlight, he began to question if he would ever fully heal from the incident. The persistent media attention, public scrutiny, and emotional toll of his activities had made him feel alone. "I never realized how much of my life was defined by the show," explained Kirk. "Now that I am no longer a part of it, I am doubting everything. What do I have left?" The path to atonement would not be simple, and it was evident that Kirk had a long road ahead of him. It was unclear if he would ever return to love and hip-hop, but one thing was certain: that dramatic meeting with a fan had changed his life forever. The public's opinion of Kirk Frost would never be the same, and the issue of whether he could recover from this controversy and reclaim his place in the spotlight remained unanswered. As Kirk Frost's name spread throughout social media, the final chapter in his love and hip-hop tale appeared to be unraveling. With each passing day, his future on the program became increasingly questionable. His personal troubles, along with the rising criticism, caused him to wonder if he could ever escape the public scrutiny. "The fans have spoken," Kirk said in his final sorrowful interview, "but now I need to find my way back to being the guy my family can rely on. I've lost so much: my profession, my dignity, and the trust of those who love me. I simply need a second chance." But will the public allow Kirk to rebuild his life, or will the harm be irreversible? In an unexpected turn of events, love and hip-hop producers invited Kirk in for a clandestine discussion. Rumors of his impending return spread, but this time the stakes were considerably higher. Kirk needed to show that he could actually change, both for his family and his admirers. But what could he do to mend the broken trust? The producers informed him that they were contemplating bringing him back, but under certain circumstances. Kirk would have to go through a series of public interviews, demonstrating his metamorphosis and making apologies for his sins. The network's decision to consider his comeback was a gamble. Could Kirk keep his vow of improvement, or will the turmoil follow him back to the show, causing even more chaos? Meanwhile, Rashida was dealing with her own personal predicament. After standing by Kirk throughout the scandal, she was left wondering if it was time to walk away or remain dedicated to the family she had fought so hard to make. "It's been an emotional roller coaster," Rashida confessed in an exclusive interview. "I've tried to be there for Kirk, but I have to ask myself, what is best for me and our children? Do I really want to continue down this road again? I'm not sure." Rashida's reservations were clear, but she wasn't ready to make any final judgments just yet. She had always been the one who kept their family together, but the weight of the choice seemed too heavy to take alone. Fans also jumped in, with many continuing to voice their displeasure with Kirk's behavior. "He's a hypocrite," a fan tweeted. "He preached about family and loyalty, and now look what he has done. He is no longer the same man he once was." However, some flocked to his support, pushing people to give Kirk a chance to rehabilitate himself. "We all make mistakes," another fan said. "If Kirk truly wants to change, we should give him that opportunity. He's human, like the rest of us." The argument was continued, and it appeared that the public was as split as ever. In the middle of all the conjecture, a bombshell dropped. An insider from the Love and Hip Hop production team reported that Kirk was, in fact, being considered for a new role, one that would allow him to return to the program in a completely new light. "We're thinking about giving Kirk a chance to redeem himself, but it's not going to be easy," according to the source. "We want him to face his faults straight on, and we're working with him on a plot centered on his development. It's a dangerous move, but we'll accept it if Kirk can show that he's actually changed." The prospect of Kirk returning in a redemption storyline was both intriguing and contentious. It would imply that Love and Hip Hop were prepared to take chances and defy the rules, but it also raised concerns about whether such a drastic transition could actually heal the harm he had done. Kirk's camp kept quiet about the offer, but the heat on him was rising. "It's not about the money or the fame," Kirk explained during a quiet time with his family. "It is about repairing what is broken. I've damaged people, and I need to prove them that I'm better than what they witnessed that day. If the network provides me this opportunity, I will make sure I don't waste it. Kirk had a long road ahead of him as he pursued salvation, but this time, he was more desperate than ever to show that he could overcome the scandal. On the other hand, the rest of the Love and Hip Hop cast was dealing with the consequences from Kirk's controversy in their own unique ways. Some sympathized, while others thought that the whole crisis had eclipsed their individual tales. It's hard to get attention when everyone's focused on Kirk's drama. One cast member said, "No one seems to care about anything else." The tension among the cast members had been building for weeks, with some questioning whether Kirk's return would be a godsend or a curse. While Kirk was concerned with the thought of restoring his image, the other stars were preoccupied with their own futures. Will Kirk's comeback steal the show, or will it set the stage for a new season of drama? Kirk began to show evidence of true transformation over time. He was more focused and present with his family, and most importantly, he accepted responsibility for his behavior. He began engaging in charity activities and spoke out about his anger control issues. "I'm not proud of what happened," Kirk stated during one of his interviews, "but I'm trying hard to make it right. This is only the beginning of my journey, and I will not stop until I have regained the trust of people I've wounded." His initiatives were gradually getting traction. Fans, while hesitant, began to see a different side to Kirk. It wasn't enough to wipe away the past, but it was a start. Recognizing the possibility for a new chapter, the producers of Love and Hip Hop began debating ways to incorporate Kirk's change into the program. They envisioned a plot in which Kirk would work through his personal troubles, attempting to re-establish his relationship with Rashida while confronting monsters from his past. It would be visceral, emotional, and authentic, the type of stuff that Love and Hip Hop were known for. Will the audience accept this new version of Kirk? Could he actually overcome the controversy and regain the respect of his fans? As the show's second season approached, the ultimate decision on Kirk's return remained unclear. However, Kirk's struggle was far from done. "I'm not giving up," he said, his voice full of conviction. "I am going to prove to the world that I am more than just the person who had a meltdown. I'm going to prove that I can be a better husband, parent, and person. It will not be easy, but I am prepared to do whatever is necessary." And thus the stage was set for Kirk's possible comeback to Love and Hip Hop. Whether he succeeded or failed remained to be seen, but one thing was certain: his adventure was far from ended. The drama, suspense, and emotional upheaval would continue to captivate audiences as they watched Kirk strive for redemption and his position on reality television. This is the end. For now, what are your thoughts on Kirk's tremendous descent and potential redemption? Do you think he deserves a second opportunity, or is this simply another attempt to get attention? Please share your ideas in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more exciting information on Kirk Frost and your other favorite Love and Hip Hop performers. If you want to remain up to date on the newest controversies, be sure you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any juicy stories. Remember, the drama is only getting started, and you won't want to miss what happens next.